Coward. That's what they called him. One moment of fear, one panic attack during combat, and Private James Walker became the soldier nobody trusted. But when 200 enemy fighters stormed the base at 03:00 hours and the gate defense collapsed, the Coward did something no one expected. He stayed, alone, for 30 minutes that felt like eternity. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to Acts of Veterans so you never miss these true tales of courage. And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from today? Private James Walker was 22 years old when he arrived at Forward Operating Base Redstone in Helmand Province, Afghanistan. He came in with the same determination as every other soldier, eyes sharp, training fresh in his mind, ready to prove himself. For the first 3 months, he was just another rifleman in 2nd Platoon, quiet, competent, nothing remarkable, nothing concerning. Then came October 14th. The patrol was supposed to be routine, a security sweep through a village on the edge of Redstone's operational zone. Intel showed low enemy activity. The morning briefing was casual. Some soldiers even joked about being back in time for lunch. They made it to kilometers before the ambush hit. The first RPG screamed out of a compound window and slammed into the lead vehicle. The explosion flipped the Humvee onto its side, metal shrieking, glass shattering. Before anyone could process what happened, gunfire erupted from every direction. AK-47s, PKMs, coordinated fire from rooftops, windows, alleyways. The patrol was trapped in a kill box with no cover and no way out. Marines scrambled for positions, returned fire, called for air support. The radio crackled with urgent voices overlapping each other. Private Walker ducked behind a low stone wall. With 3 other soldiers, bullets chewed into the stone inches above their heads. Dust and chips of rock showered down on them. Staff Sergeant Marcus Hayes was beside him, shouting orders, directing fire. Walker raised his rifle, found a target, squeezed the trigger. 1 shot, 2, 3, clean. Control. Exactly as trained. Then it happened. An RPG hit the wall directly in front of them. The blast wave slammed into Walker like a physical force. His ears rang. His vision blurred. Dust filled his lungs. When the ringing faded, he heard screaming. One of the soldiers beside him was hit, blood spreading across his leg. Another soldier was dragging him back while returning fire. Walker tried to move, tried to lift his rifle, but his hands wouldn't stop shaking. His breath came in short, sharp gasps. His chest tightened. The world seemed to close in around him. He could see the firefight happening, could hear Hayes shouting his name, but his body wouldn't respond. Panic attack. Clinical, uncontrollable, the kind that hijacks every system in your body and won't let go. Hayes grabbed Walker's vest and pulled him behind better cover. His voice was sharp, but not cruel. Walker, breathe. Look at me. But Walker couldn't. His vision tunneled. His hands trembled so badly he couldn't hold his rifle steady. For the full minutes, he was gone, lost in his own body's betrayal. By the time air support arrived and the ambush broke, Walker had regained some control. But the damage was done. Everyone had seen it. The soldier who froze. The one who couldn't fight back. The medevac took the wounded. The patrol limped back to base. And the whisper started immediately. In the chow hall that night, voices were low, but not low enough. Walker froze up out there. Couldn't even hold his rifle. What happens next time? Will we actually need him? Walker sat alone at a corner table. He didn't eat, just stared at his tray while the weight of judgment pressed down on him from every direction. Staff Sergeant Hayes pulled him aside after dinner. His face was serious but not unkind. Walker, what happened out there? I don't know. Sergeant, Walker said quietly, I just couldn't move. Hayes studied him for a long moment. You ever had that happen before? No, Sergeant, never. Hayes exhaled slowly. Look, I'm putting you on medical evaluation. The doc will check you out. If it's something you can work through, we'll work through it. If not, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. The medical evaluation came back clean. No physical issues, no head trauma, just a panic attack triggered by extreme stress. The base psychologist recommended continued duty with monitoring, but the label had already stuck. Coward. It didn't come from malice. Soldiers didn't hate Walker. They just didn't trust him. And in combat, trust is everything. When patrols were assigned, Walker was left on base duty, gate security, equipment checks, anything that kept him away from direct combat. He didn't argue, didn't defend himself. He just worked, quietly, hoping that somehow, someday, he could prove that one moment didn't define him. But the looks followed him everywhere, the doubt, the unspoken question in everyone's eyes. Will he freeze again? 6 months passed. Walker remained at Forward Redstone, still assigned to 2nd Platoon, still carrying the weight of that October day. He volunteered for every duty, took extra shifts, worked harder than anyone else. But nothing changed. He was still the soldier who froze. Then came April 3rd. At over for 7 hours, the base alarm shattered the night. A sharp, piercing wail that yanked every soldier out of sleep and into chaos. All personnel, this is not a drill. Base is under attack. Enemy forces at the main gate. Walker was on gate duty that night. A routine assignment nobody wanted. 4-hour shifts watching an empty road under floodlights. He grabbed his rifle and ran toward the gate. The sight that greeted him froze his blood for different reasons this time. The main gate, a reinforced barrier that had stood for 2 years, without serious threat, was under siege, not by a small raiding party, not by a handful of insurgents testing defenses. 200 enemy fighters, coordinated, armed, advancing under covering fire from technical vehicles mounted with heavy machine guns. The gate defense teammate Marines was already engaged. Muzzle flashes lit up the darkness. Tracer rounds cut through the night. RPGs screamed overhead. Walker reached the defensive position just as an RPG slammed into the guard tower. The explosion ripped through the structure. 2 Marines went down. Others scrambled back, dragging the wounded. Sergeant Hayes was there, blood streaming from a head wound, shouting into his radio, "Redstone talk. This is gate defense. We are heavily engaged, 200+ hostiles. Requesting immediate QRF support." The radio crackled back, static. Then a voice, "Gate defense. QRF is pinned down at the south perimeter. Secondary attack in progress. Hold your position. Reinforcements en route. ETA 10 minutes. 10 minutes. In combat, that was a lifetime. Hayes looked at his remaining team. 5 soldiers. Against 200. Fall back to secondary positions. He ordered, "We can't hold the gate." The soldiers began pulling back, dragging the wounded, providing covering fire as they retreated toward the inner defensive line. Walker stood at the gate, his rifle in his hands, his heart pounding. Everyone was falling back, retreating to defensible positions deeper in the base. It was the right call, the tactical call. But if they abandoned the gate entirely, even for 10 minutes, the enemy would breach it, pour into the base, reach the barracks, the aid station, the command center. Hundreds of soldiers asleep, vulnerable. Walker's hands started to shake. The familiar tightness crept into his chest. The memory of October 14th flashed through his mind. You froze once. You'll freeze again. But this time, something else cut through the panic. A voice. Not from outside. From within. Not again. Not this time. Walker stepped forward, into the kill zone, toward the gate. Sergeant Hayes turned and saw him. "Walker, fall back. That's an order." But Walker didn't stop. He moved to the primary defensive position, a reinforced sandbag barrier with a mounted M240 machine gun, the position everyone had just abandoned. He dropped behind the gun, swung it toward the advancing enemy, and opened fire. The M240 roared to life, a steady, thunderous rhythm. Tracer rounds painted lines of light across the darkness. Enemy fighters scattered, diving for cover. Hayes stared in disbelief. "Walker, what the hell are you doing?" Walker didn't answer. He couldn't. Every ounce of focus was locked on the gun, on the targets, on holding the line. The enemy returned fire. Bullets hammered the sandbags, ricocheted off metal, snapped past Walker's head close enough to feel the displaced air. But he didn't flinch, didn't freeze. He just kept firing, short, controlled bursts, targeting clusters, disrupting their advance, buying time. Hayes grabbed his radio. "Talk. This is gate defense. We have 1 soldier holding the primary position. Repeat. 1 soldier engaging 200. Hostiles at the main gate. Say again, gate defense. Did you say 1 soldier? Affirmative. Private James Walker. He's holding alone." Back at the gate, Walker's mind had entered a strange calm. The panic was still there, coiled in his chest, but it wasn't in control anymore. His training had taken over. Muscle memory, discipline. The 1,000 repetitions he'd done on ranges and its simulations. Breathe. Aim. Fire. Adjust. Repeat. An RPG team tried to move into position. Walker saw the movement, shifted the gun, and cut them down before they could fire. A technical vehicle tried to rush the gate. Walker stitched rounds across its engine block. The vehicle sputtered, smoked, and stopped. Minute by minute, he held the line. 3 minutes became 5. 5 became 10. His ammunition belt was running low. He reached for a fresh belt, locked it in, and kept firing. Enemy fighters began to realize something. This wasn't suppressive fire from a retreating force. This was deliberate, accurate, relentless. One soldier was making them pay for every meter they advanced. At minute 12, Walker's barrel began to glow red-hot. The gun was overheating. He pulled back on the rate of fire, taking more careful shots to let it cool. An enemy fighter got close. Too close. 30 meters from the gate. Walker dropped the machine gun, grabbed his rifle, and put 3 rounds center mass. The fighter dropped. Walker returned to the M240. Keep firing. Keep holding. At minute 15, his radio crackled. Walker, QRF is 60 seconds out. Hold on. Walker didn't respond. He just kept firing. At minute 20, the sound of diesel engines roared behind him. Armored vehicles. The quick reaction force had broken through. 12 Marines poured out, took positions alongside Walker, and opened fire. The enemy advance broke. Fighters began falling back, retreating under the combined fire. At minute 30, the last enemy fighter disappeared into the darkness. Silence fell, heavy, ringing. Walker's hands finally released the machine gun. They were shaking again, but this time, it wasn't fear. It was adrenaline crash, exhaustion. Sergeant Hayes approached slowly, his face pale beneath the blood and dust. Walker, he said quietly, you just held the gate. Alone, for 30 minutes. Walker nodded once. He couldn't speak yet. His throat was too dry, his body too drained. Hayes looked at the defensive position, at the hundreds of spent casings scattered around Walker's boots, at the smoking barrel of the M240. Why didn't you fall back? Hayes asked. Walker finally found his voice. It came out hoarse. Rah, because if I did, they'd get through. Hayes stared at him. Then, slowly, he extended his hand. Walker took it. By sunrise, word had spread across the entire base. The soldier they called a coward had held the main gate alone for 30 minutes, against 200 enemy fighters, without backup, without orders, just duty. The battalion commander ordered a formation at 0800 hours. Every soldier who could stand attended. Private James Walker stood at attention in the center. His uniform was torn, his face streaked with dust and gunpowder. He looked exhausted, hollowed out, but he stood straight. The commander stepped forward. Colonel Allen Price, a man with 3 decades of service and a chest full of medals. Private Walker, he said, his voice carrying across the silent formation. 6 months ago, you had a panic attack during combat. The men here lost trust in you. Some questioned whether you belonged in uniform. Walker's jaw tightened, but he didn't look away. Price continued. Last night, you answered that question. You stood at that gate when everyone else fell back. You held a position no one thought could be held. You saved this base. You saved lives. The colonel reached into his pocket and pulled out a small black case. The Army Commendation Medal with Valor device is awarded to soldiers who distinguish themselves by heroism not involving actual conflict with an enemy. He opened the case. The medal gleamed in the morning sun. But what you did last night wasn't heroism without conflict. You faced an enemy force that outnumbered you 200 to 1, and you refused to yield. Price pinned the medal to Walker's chest. You're no coward, Private Walker. You're a damn hero. The formation erupted, not with polite applause, with raw, genuine respect. Marines who had doubted him now stood and cheered. Some saluted. Some had tears in their eyes. Sergeant Hayes stepped forward and saluted Walker. His voice was thick with emotion. I'm sorry, he said quietly, for doubting you, for not seeing what you were made of. Walker returned the salute. You had every reason to doubt, Sergeant, he said. I doubted myself. Hayes shook his head. Not anymore. None of us doubt you now. In the months that followed, Private James Walker became something he never sought, a legend. New soldiers arriving at Forward Redstone heard the story, the soldier who froze once, then refused to freeze ever again, the one who held the gate alone. But Walker didn't change. He didn't become arrogant, didn't seek attention. He just kept doing his job, quietly, steadily. Because he understood something now, something he hadn't known before that night. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite it. One panic attack didn't make him a coward, and 30 minutes of hell didn't make him a hero. What made him human was the choice he made when it mattered most. To stand, to fight, to hold the line, even when his body screamed at him to run, even when his mind told him he'd fail, even when everyone expected him to freeze, he stood. Moral: true courage isn't never feeling fear. It's feeling fear and choosing to stand anyway. One moment of weakness doesn't define you. What defines you is what you do next. If this story moved you, don't forget to show your support. Subscribe to Acts of Veterans for more true tales of courage, sacrifice, and honor. Stories that remind us of the quiet strength carried by those who serve. Tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? We love seeing how far these stories reach. Until next time, stay safe, stay strong, and never forget the heroes among us.